It is the Real Kipper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6 Eastern. If you're ready for the fastest 2 hours in hockey, you are right where you need to be. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne.
And that's it.
Derek. No, we got Derek Brandeo. We got Jen Rolnick.
Yep.
Pushing all the right buttons.
We do.
And we have producer Austin Mackey in for our Sammy McKee, who is home with snot running down his nose as we speak.
He's fragile. He's a little fragile right now. He's like the rest of the Leafs.
So he went out and played for like 4 days.
Yeah.
And he can't pay the fiddler.
Yeah. You know, I actually had a captain in university. I was a freshman. He was a senior. And I went out drinking with the old guys one night. And I couldn't make practice the next day. I just physically couldn't do it. And I remember him saying, if you want to be out with the big dogs, you can't be pissing with the puppies in the morning. Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay. Lesson learned, you know. But you get old, your immune system can't handle the party and, you know.
I do remember one practice in Hershey where we went out the night before and practice. Yeah. And then John Paddock was our head coach then, and he calls us in, and he's absolutely livid at what he is witnessing. So we're around the penalty area.
Yeah.
Right? And I need to lean on something really badly at this point because I cannot stand on my own 2 feet. And I lean on the boards, but the gate
opened
is not closed, and I go thump.
Oh, come on.
Maybe one of the most embarrassing moments.
Like trying to not draw attention to yourself and just put the spotlight right on your back.
Double down.
Everything's great.
Everything's great.
Anyway,
so we know
he's legitimately injured.
Oh, no,
he's sick. He's sick. He's sick as can be. He came in yesterday. Give him credit.
Is Gen Z the laziest generation?
Okay, that's the best way. That's the best way I can describe Sammy McKee. Yeah. He's not us.
Nah, you know, he's still young. We're working on him.
But we'll have some fun anyways. We got some great guests lined up. Joshua Cloak from The Athletic will join us, and we'll discuss what we saw not only last night out of the Toronto Maple Leafs in a win over the Dallas Stars, but what we can look forward to short-term and long-term. So that's Joshua Cloak in about 28 minutes. Ed Olchuk,
yes,
TNT, friend of the show, former New York Ranger. We'll get his thoughts on what's happening in New York at the top of the hour. And then Eric Francis as well from Sportsnet.ca. So jam-packed, JB. But as they say, just you and me, kid.
Well, there's no shortage of things to discuss from last night's game. The Leafs get a 5-3 win despite, I don't want to say they got heavily outplayed, but the first period was pretty lopsided. You know, I guess, do you want to start with, was Woll the number one reason for you? Yeah,
I have to think that if you're going to talk about the number one reason, I mean, as solid and as good Joseph Woll was, if you want to start again with the number one reason, I'm like, hey, Jake Ottinger.
Yeah, okay, good.
Right?
Good one, yeah.
Jake.
Yeah.
Buddy, you're supposed to be contending on a Stanley Cup kind of caliber team here. That is not the goaltending. Did it end up being 4 goals on 8 shots? Does that sound accurate?
It was 4 goals and 8 shots at one point. I don't know if he got any more. They kept him in, then took him out after 2, but
a 500 save percentage. I mean, can you win with a 500 save percentage?
I don't think you can. The Robertson one, particularly stinky. Domi one, not awesome. The McMahon one, pretty bad. Yeah, so not a great showing. In the end, goaltending is the difference. I just got to say, it is nice covering the Toronto Maple Leafs when they're on the right side of these goalie nights. Because we did some years there where it was like they should have won. They were the better team. They outplayed them. They can't get a win. Here it's like, I don't know if they didn't necessarily deserve to lose. They played a pretty decent road game after the first period, but the goaltending is the reason it happened, the reason they get 2 points.
So what you're saying right now is if we include the playoffs, the next 65, 70 games should balance out all the bad years. Is that what you're telling me?
I would take it, and I think Leafs fan would if all the balancing came in April and May. Just give us all those ones back then. So, yeah, we do have Craig Berube. Do you want to start with the overview or just go right to the goaltender?
Let's just do the overview first, and then we'll get into Joseph Woll, and then what could look much different in the net as early as tomorrow night for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But first, our first Kypreos Clipper of the day belongs to Craig Berube.
Well, the goalie was good for sure. I mean, I thought that, we responded on goals, Our third line responded and tied it up. They had a great game, I thought. Overall, I just thought, puck play and, decision-making at times wasn't great tonight by our team. But, we found a way to win. Our goalie was really good, and, we did what we had to do.
Okay, finding a way to win seems to be an ongoing theme.
Yeah. And they do. And the one thing that stands out to me is I was getting this text as the game was going on, but when they get up, they've blown the lead, least the fewest leads in the NHL. They can shut it down, So I think that's part of finding a way to win is if they get a lead, even if they don't deserve it, they're kind of able to shut it down, hang on. They didn't used to be able to do that.
Just do your job.
No, and it has to. Your first inkling is that it has to be a good sign. Mm-hmm. It's not one where you want to keep going to the well on.
No,
and you can appreciate the great goaltending that you're getting, but it has to do a lot with not only just great goaltending, but I don't know if it has to be led by Chris Tanev. Is that it's still hard to get to the Toronto Maple Leaf net, even if they're scrambling in their own zone.
Yeah, they had some comment last night from someone, it might have been Nil, it might have been something like that, talking about Tanev when he was with Dallas. They went 3 playoff rounds last year, if I'm not mistaken, and Tanev got the matchups of Eichel in one round, McDavid and Draisaitl in another, and McKinnon in another round. And he handled those matches pretty decently. This guy is as good as it gets when it comes to playing against the top of the top. So that's a huge change for them for sure.
Okay, let's go to Craig Berube on Joseph Woll and the effort that he gave him last night in Dallas.
Well, it's really important. He was great tonight. We needed him to be really good against a real good team at home. They got a good home record, they're hard to beat. So we needed him to be good, and he was. I mean, that's so. But it's, it gives our team confidence too. It plays a lot into it.
Didn't love the Dodonov one, but whatever, right?
Yeah, and
good
early
shot.
and
good shot.
Yeah, good shot, but early, and when you're looking like you're not ready to start a period, you're thinking, okay, is this the start of? It's going to just be a tough night, but it doesn't faze them.
No, and I'll tell you, so at that time, I went and bet on Dallas. After the first period, I was like, the Leafs have no shot. they were getting pumped in the first period, and then what changes it? They go down 2-1, and I'm like, licking my chops. Not that I want the Leafs to lose. It's a happiness hedge. Either the Leafs win or, I win some money. Anyway, Rupe Hintz. 2-1, they have the lead. He has a breakaway, chance to kind of go up 3-1 and pull away in Dallas. Great breakaway save. They go back the other way. Domi shoots in the net. It's 2-2. 15 seconds later, Robertson scores. All of a sudden, it's 3-2. That's Joseph Woll not getting rattled by the one he gave up, staying in it, and huge save for them.
Yeah.
Leafs facing center crisis amid injuries, eyeing trade market for solutions. As the Toronto Maple Leafs battle through a growing injury list and a suspension, their lack of depth at the center position has become a glaring issue. According to Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman in his latest 32 Thoughts article, the Leafs are among the teams exploring trade options to bolster their lineup. This effort is coming amid increasing competition from teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators, who have also set their sights on improving their center depth. Friedman didn't mince words about the Leafs' predicament. The teams currently focusing on centers, including Chicago and Nashville, must consider when others will enter the market. Toronto will undoubtedly be one of those teams, he wrote. While the Blackhawks and Predators may have an edge in terms of cap space and assets, the Leafs remain a team to watch as the season progresses. The Leafs situation is urgent, with up to 7 forwards currently unavailable due to injury or suspension. Ryan Reeves is serving a 5-game suspension, while key players like Austin Matthews, upper body, Matthew Knies, upper body, Kaye Jarnkrok, groin/sports hernia, David Kampf, lower body, Max Domi, lower body, and Max Pacioretty, lower body, are all sidelined. The team has even considered temporarily shifting Mitch Marner to the center position, highlighting the severity of their depth issues. This isn't just a short-term concern for the Leafs. Depth at center has been a persistent challenge for the team, and while stopgap solutions like Marner could help in the interim, the front office appears keen to explore longer-term fixes. For fans of the blue and white, this has been a recurring theme. The Leafs' center depth often becomes a problem at the worst possible times. James Myrtle of The Athletic recently added more fuel to the speculation, naming several potential trade targets who could help the Leafs address their issues. Among them is Ryan O'Reilly, a familiar name for Toronto fans. O'Reilly, who signed a 4-year, $18 million deal with Nashville in 2023, might be a trade candidate if the Predators' underwhelming start to the season, 6-11-3, 31st in the league, prompts a rebuild. However, his steep price tag and history with the Leafs, including rejecting a free agency offer less than 2 years ago, make this a complex and potentially unlikely move. Other names mentioned by Myrtle include former Leaf Nazem Kadri, currently with Calgary, as well as players like Michael Granlund, Nick Jugstad, Brock Nelson, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederick, Radek Faksa, and Sean Corrali. While some of these options seem more plausible than others, it's clear that general manager Brad Treliving will need to get creative to find the right piece without mortgaging the team's future. Cap space remains one of the biggest obstacles for the Leafs. Unlike teams like Chicago and Nashville, which have more flexibility and assets, Toronto is walking a financial tightrope. As Friedman noted, competition will intensify as cap-constrained teams strive to create room. For the Leafs, that could mean waiting for the market to develop further, a risky move given their current needs. The situation also highlights the Leafs' ongoing struggle to build a roster that can withstand the grueling nature of an NHL season. Injuries are an inevitability in hockey, but Toronto's current predicament underscores the importance of depth, a quality the team has struggled to consistently maintain. Looking back on recent years, the Leafs have often leaned heavily on their star players, particularly Matthews, Marner, and William Nylander. While these players have delivered in spades, the lack of reliable depth options has left the team vulnerable in critical moments. The current crisis at center is merely the latest example of this recurring issue. Some fans have called for more aggressive moves from Treliving, arguing that now is the time to strike while the team's core is in its prime. Others, however, are more cautious, pointing to the dangers of overpaying for short-term fixes. Striking the right balance will be key, especially as the Leafs aim to keep their championship window open. Despite the challenges, there's no denying that Toronto has the talent to be a contender, provided they can patch up their lineup. The ongoing rumors and speculation surrounding potential trades show that the Leafs are at least exploring every avenue to strengthen their roster. For fans of the blue and white, this moment feels like a pivotal point in the season. With a lineup ravaged by injuries and a tough schedule ahead, the Leafs must act decisively to avoid falling behind in the standings. The addition of a dependable center could be the difference between weathering the storm or watching another season slip away. Whether it's O'Reilly, Kadri, or another surprise name, one thing is certain: the Leafs are under pressure to deliver. And for a fan base as passionate and loyal as Toronto's, there's no room for excuses. The time to act is now, and Leafs Nation is watching closely. As the trade deadline approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Treliving pull off a move that solidifies the Leafs' status as a contender, or will the search for center depth become yet another chapter in the team's long history of what-ifs? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: it's never boring in Leafs land. As the Maple Leafs navigate this critical juncture, their fan base remains as vocal as ever. Toronto is a city that breathes hockey, and the pressure on Brad Treliving to make the right moves is immense. Every decision he makes, or doesn't make, will be scrutinized, from talk radio to social media, where Leafs Nation is already debating the merits of the various names being floated as potential trade targets. Among the louder debates is whether the team should prioritize a high-profile acquisition like Ryan O'Reilly or Nazem Kadri, or focus on a lower-cost, reliable center who can fill a supporting role without costing too many future assets. While O'Reilly's leadership and playoff experience make him an attractive option, his contract and recent history with the Leafs add layers of complexity to any potential reunion. Similarly, Kadri's gritty, two-way playstyle remains a fan favorite, but his cap hit and availability might render him an unrealistic target. Another factor complicating the Leafs situation is their tight salary cap. While Chicago and Nashville can make moves with relative ease due to their financial flexibility, Toronto must navigate a labyrinth of constraints to make any trade work. This likely means including salary retention or moving existing contracts to make room, which could drive up the cost of any potential deal. The question then becomes, how much are the Leafs willing to sacrifice to address their immediate needs? One potential trade partner generating buzz is the Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gourde, a dependable two-way center, has been mentioned as a possible target. Gourde's versatility and championship pedigree from his time with Tampa Bay make him an appealing option. Seattle, however, is in playoff contention and may not be inclined to part with a key piece unless the Leafs can provide a substantial return. Another intriguing name is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. Nelson is a consistent scorer and reliable faceoff-man, qualities that would undoubtedly bolster Toronto's center depth. However, the Islanders are notoriously cautious when it comes to trades, and prying Nelson away would likely require a significant package, including picks or prospects that the Leafs may be hesitant to part with. For all the trade talk, some analysts believe the solution might come from within. Sheldon Keefe has shown a willingness to experiment with his lineup, and players like Pontus Holmberg or Fraser Minton could be given an opportunity to step up. While relying on less experienced players carries risks, it might be the Leafs' only option if the trade market proves too costly or slow to develop. Adding to the Leafs' urgency is the timing. The Atlantic Division remains one of the toughest in the league, with teams like Boston, Florida, and Tampa Bay continuing to dominate. Any prolonged slump could see Toronto slip further down the standings, putting their playoff hopes in jeopardy. For a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, failing to address their weaknesses could have catastrophic consequences. Brad Treliving's history as a general manager suggests he's not afraid to make bold moves. His time with the Calgary Flames was marked by blockbuster trades, including the acquisition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in the Matthew Tkachuk deal. Leafs fans hope he brings that same decisiveness to Toronto, especially as the trade deadline looms. Beyond the immediate need for a center, this situation underscores a broader issue with the Leafs roster construction. Depth has been a perennial concern, and while Toronto boasts some of the league's top-end talent, their reliance on a handful of stars has left them vulnerable in moments like this. Moving forward, addressing this imbalance must be a priority for the front office if the team is to achieve sustained success. As the Leafs head into a critical stretch of the season, the next few weeks could define their trajectory.